All right, lean manufacturing. I'm sure you've heard all the buzzwords, maybe even read a book or two. But what if I told you that the real magic, the most powerful ideas from the original Toyota production system got, well, lost in translation? That's what we're going to do today. We're diving deep, going right back to the source to uncover the secrets hidden in the original Japanese. Okay, so here's the big question. We're all told that the Toyota production system, or TPS, is this bulletproof blueprint for success, right? So why is it that so many companies try to copy it and just fail? They don't get anywhere near the same results. Well, the answer, and this is the key, isn't in the flowcharts or the processes. It's in the words themselves. And you're not going to find this answer in some modern business bestseller. Nope. The real clues are right here, in the original Japanese training manuals, penned by the architect of the whole system, Taiichi Ohno. See, he chose his words with such incredible precision, and it's in those nuances that the secrets have been hiding all this time.
So, you see, the problem was never the system, it's the translation. When these really complex, super nuanced ideas got translated from Japanese into English, their deepest meanings just got flattened out, oversimplified, and in some cases, totally lost.
All right, first up, let's tackle the big one. The most famous lean term of all, Kaizen. Now, we all think we know what it means. Improvement, right? But that simple translation, it misses the entire spirit, the soul of the philosophy.
Seriously, ask anyone in a workshop what Kaizen means, and they'll say continuous improvement. We've been taught to think of it as, making these small little tweaks to a process. But that is only half the story. And honestly, it's the less important half.
Check this out. This is the distinction Taiichi Ohno himself made. When he talked about improving physical things, like a piece of equipment, he actually used a different word, kairyo. The word we all know, kaizen, he saved that for something much bigger, self-development. So it's not about changing the process, it's about changing yourself.
Wow, right? I mean, that completely shifts the focus. It's not about fiddling with a machine, it's about your own personal growth. True Kaizen, the real deal, is this deep commitment to changing your own behaviors to help out the team, to benefit the customer. The system only gets better because the people inside it are getting better. And this incredible precision with language, it wasn't just some philosophical exercise. Ohno used it on the factory floor to redefine the very concept of work. He was teaching his teams to see real value, where before all they saw was just motion.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really cool. So in Japanese, the word for work can be written using two different characters. Ohno cleverly used one to mean moving around, basically just being busy, wasted effort. And the other, which is amazing, includes the symbol for person. He used that one to mean true work, activity that actually adds value. Think about that. Just a simple visual cue on a worksheet taught workers to instantly spot the difference between being busy and being productive.
And he didn't stop there. He did the same thing with muda, which we all know is waste. If it was written one way in katakana, it meant there was waste inside an existing process. But if he wrote it another way, in hiragana, it was a signal that the entire process was completely unnecessary. That simple difference in writing immediately told you the scale of the problem. Are we just fixing a little step here, or should we be getting rid of this whole procedure?
And when it came time to get rid of that waste, you can bet Ohno chose his word very carefully. He didn't just say, remove it. He used the word heijo, a really powerful term that means to completely abolish the root cause so that it can never return. It's not about a band-aid. It's about a permanent, surgical solution.
All this focus on language really starts to reveal the emotional heart of the system, and that's something that is almost always lost in translation. Ohno's principles were never about blaming people. They were designed to support them. It's a whole philosophy built on a deep respect for the worker.
Okay, now let's talk about a term that is almost universally misunderstood and frankly misused, baka-yoke. It's often translated pretty offensively as idiot-proofing. But of course, Ohno made a crucial distinction. There's poka-yoke, which is for preventing simple mistakes from, say, absent-mindedness, when someone is perfectly capable but maybe they're just disengaged for a second. Baka-yoke, though, that was for something completely different.
See, baka-yoke was for tasks that were just beyond a person's physical or mental ability, no matter how hard they tried. It had nothing to do with calling someone an idiot. It was actually management admitting, hey, we designed a task that's too difficult, and then taking responsibility by providing support, like a special tool or a sensor, to help a good, dedicated worker succeed anyway. So the philosophy here is crystal clear.
The system is always the target for improvement, never the person. The goal is to build systems and processes that respectfully account for human fallibility instead of just demanding impossible perfection from people.
And this whole philosophy, this deep respect for people, it actually changed the ultimate goal of the entire system over time. In the early days, the focus was on something called shojin, which basically means labor saving, and you can imagine that made people pretty nervous about their jobs. But that evolved into katsujin. The character katsu actually means vitality or to make alive. The goal became about creating revitalized, engaged, flexible workers. Suddenly, people weren't a cost to be cut. They were the most important asset to be developed.
All right, so for our final big reveal here, if Kaizen is really about self-development, then where do we actually start the whole improvement process? The answer is probably going to surprise you, because it flies in the face of a core principle we've all been taught in modern management.
I'm talking about the PDCA cycle. Plan, do, check, act. We've all had it drilled into our heads. It seems totally obvious, right? You start with plan? Well, according to Taiichi Ohno, that is the absolute wrong place to begin.
And you guessed that the clue is right there in the language. The term for standard work can be written two different ways in Japanese. One way means target, the ideal plan, how the work should be done. But the other way means to surface the current state, to first go and understand what is actually happening on the ground right now. And right there, that reveals Ohno's true sequence. The cycle doesn't begin with plan, no. It begins with check. You have to first go to the workplace and surface the cold, hard facts of the current reality. Only then can you act, and only after you've acted can you even begin to plan.
So just take a second and think about your own work. When a new project kicks off, how much time do you spend in conference rooms making plans versus how much time is spent actually deeply understanding the reality on the ground before a single plan is made?
So Ohno's cycle is really CAPD. First, check, deeply understand reality. Then act, make those small Kaizen-style changes. Then you plan. You formulate a new standard based on what you just learned. And finally, do. You implement that new standard. It's such a simple reordering, but it completely changes everything. It prioritizes reality over assumptions.
When you peel back all the layers, this whole thing comes back to a really personal idea. The point isn't to just blindly copy what Toyota did. It's about seeking your own knowledge, about understanding your own unique reality, and then using that to make your own life and the lives of the people you work with better. And that really leaves us with one last big thought. This whole story of Lean is just such a powerful example of how deep meaning and original intent can get completely lost in translation. So what about in your own world, in your own company, on your own team? What crucial foundational ideas might be getting watered down in your daily jargon and shorthand? And more importantly, what incredible potential could you unlock if you just went back to the source?